Someone sent me here and said, "You've got great art here." And as I began showing him the art, he began to focus in on the art of gray and began saying, "You know, I really am interested in this art on a building." And I went, "Sure, on a building, we're going to have art." 6 months later, at the corner in Memphis of Union and Cleveland, there's 10 pieces of art, gorgeous pieces of art, that many of them are in our store, many of them are in people's homes already. We've got prints of the arts here at the center, and it's beautiful art that really describes Memphis music and culture for everybody to see. And today, Gray's visiting with us from Murfreesboro. We're delighted you're here.
Glad to be here. Good to see you again, Judy.
What is it like to paint art and all of a sudden get shown photographs of this art that's mammoth on buildings?
Well, it's a very unique experience. I think any artist would admire the fact that someone has chosen their art to represent, you know, someone's building or an area, or especially Memphis music and Memphis culture and Southern culture. So it's an honor to, you know, be one of the artists chosen to represent that, you know, as a Southern artist, a Southern folk artist. You can't imagine, you know, something that large, you know, someone taking an interest in your artwork to the point that they're willing to blow it up so huge and put it on their own building, you know.
The first time the owners of the building started talking to us about it, I couldn't even figure out what 30 by 20 was. And then when I saw it on the building, when they were actually putting it on the building, I went, "Oh, that's really big."
Very, very large. I mean, if you consider, I saw a photo you sent me via your phone, and the guy hanging the work, putting the framing around the painting, was the size of the shoe on one of the guys playing the music. So it's a very unique, you know, to see something that large. And I called home. I'm from East Tennessee, around the Smoky Mountains, and one of the paintings that was chosen was of my grandfather when he plowed with the mules.
Oh, that's a great picture.
So my whole family got a big kick. I said, you know, Papa's down here in Memphis.
Hanging on a building.
Hanging on a building. He's famous. He's famous. So it was very interesting and such a pleasure to share that with my family, you know.
Was that a picture you had taken, or just a memory that you remember?
Well, it was just a memory. You know, I've been doing this for quite a while, and I refer back to my childhood and growing up in a rural situation where we had no running water, and so those experiences filter into my artwork, kind of like storytelling through pictures, you know, that type of thing. And I think that's the connection that we have, you and I have, is you're steeped here in Southern culture. That's really your main focus, and that's really the theme. My whole artwork is, I mean, basically all my life is steeped in that Southern culture. So I do a lot of 3D, three-dimensional.
How did that happen?
I don't know. I think I'd painted so long, and I laid another painting up against one, and I thought, you know, if I cut that out, if I cut B.B. King's head out, you know, and have him floating over downtown Memphis, that would be unique. And I think the art went up from there. You know, it kind of started out at certain prices, or, you know what I'm saying, how your work will go up in price. Doing the 3D layering type thing is not something you see every day, and it's a little bit more effort into the execution of the piece.
Do you how do you figure it out? Do you draw it out, or and then you have to cut it out?
You have to cut it out with like a scroll saw or something like that. But it's interesting because the more layers you put in, the more depth there is. And when people that haven't seen this type work, when they first walk into the center, it's like they'll see a flat piece on the wall maybe, but then they'll look up and they'll see a Mose he's 5 inches out from the background. That's a special, a little extra special effect there.
For instance, this is a piece that when you brought it in, I went, whoa, this is really, because everybody looks at the big pieces of layered art, but this is a smaller
example, and you kind of can really tell what's going on here because this is a beehive box.
You could have fooled me.
Yeah, a beehive box they used to use, and I incorporated it into the piece. But you can kind of see the depth, like the layering that's cut out. It goes all the way back. I think there's 4 or 5 layers to this piece, so it kind of gives you the view of the depth of the pieces. But I enjoy doing this one here.
Are these people you've seen before, thought about
well,
before?
I've seen them all, I've seen them at the festival every
Yeah.
year, but down New Orleans way, I mean, you see a lot of this type thing, and the lady carrying the umbrella, and it's a Happy March. I think this piece is called Beatbox.
Yeah.
So this is similar to what I do, but mine is usually on a very large scale.
One of the things that strikes everybody when they buy one of the prints or see the art or take home one of the large paintings that you've done that are available here, but is the use of color. I mean, the colors are vibrant, they're fabulous, they're kind of, how did you come up with those kind of colors in your art?
Well, I hadn't been down to New Orleans but maybe once, and that was after I had been doing the painting, but I didn't realize the connection to New Orleans or Memphis. I think there's a connection between New Orleans and Memphis as far as the talent and the culture. And I didn't really realize how much I was drawing from these two areas visually, because there are a lot of color. It's festive, it's uplifting, and it's almost like my color palette is a jazz palette because of the brilliant or the bright colors. But it's been really an interesting to see those connections there. There's one of the paintings that's on the building out there is a guitar player, and I think it says 30 miles to Memphis or 20 miles to Memphis. And so you sent me the email of the photos of the building, and I emailed it to my family, and they go, "That's your brother. That's your brother. That's my brother playing guitar." So that filters through. There's sometimes you'll do a painting and you'll put a character in it that's ambiguous, but it'll end up being a self-portrait type thing, and they go, "Well, that's you in the painting." Well, it wasn't intended to be that, but it just came out, as